Hey, everybody, it's John Halpin. I'm here with Ryan Fowler. Welcome to this week's edition, the Conference Championship Week edition of Pickwatch Live. So, Ryan, remember that old adage, defense wins championships?
Yeah, right.
Dead. Not dead. It's not a truism. It
Yeah,
can happen.
it might be in hospice.
We have our top four scoring offenses and offenses number 1, 2, 5, and 8 in yards per game still alive. What do you think? Aberration, trends, or more than one way to skin a cat?
As far as the trend, you mean defense that did well in the regular season, or offense getting you this far in the playoffs?
Like, are we in from now on? Are we looking at offenses dominating, or could we see the number one defense in the league make the Super Bowl next year, and you won't think anything of it?
Well, I think that depends on if they adjust any of the pass interference calls, because I mean, anybody who's watched any games this year, you get in these third down situations, they throw it up, and pretty often there's that flag. There's either defensive holding, there's pass interference, there's an iteration of it, and that's allowing these receivers to find these huge gaps in the secondary, and if they are covered, get the call, right? I mean, they have really cracked down on it. It's kind of like in basketball, the hand-checking rule. It's the same type of thing where when you get rid of the hand-checking rule, it opens things up for offense to thrive, and I think that's where I would put my money moving forward.
Yeah. All right. This has been we talked all year about – everybody's talked all year about how offenses were – who was going to stop the Rams and the Chiefs. And then later in the season, there was a lot of, hey, see, look at, they're slowing down these offenses now.
Right.
The Bears beat the Rams, and oh boy, this is different. Now things have changed. They've caught on.
Right.
Yeah, not so much.
About that. Yeah, no, I mean, that Chicago game, you put that, it would be fascinating to see Trubisky and that team go into Los Angeles and see what that outcome would have been. Because, again, it's night and day, Rams home and away.
I was actually looking forward to that. I was hoping we would see a Rams-Bears playoff game.
That would have been great because, again, it's a huge measuring stick, not only for the matchup head-to-head, but to see what Trubisky is really made of. Can he keep pace with an up-tempo offense like the Rams? And the answer is probably no.
So funny, quick aside, funny tweet I saw last night.
Is it about Adam Gase?
No. Oh, no, that's just – what was that?
I don't know.
What was he doing?
John, I had 5 conversations on text last night going on around that. Nobody could make heads or tails of what was going on there.
I mean, the outcome was funny with what people did with the video and the pictures.
Yeah, right. The taco was the best.
But what I'm watching, what was it?
The only thing that I could come to, just if that was me in that situation, which it never will be, obviously, but the pressure of the New York media and realizing all at once just so happens when you're walking out to sit down and address the media, the pressure of being a New York coach. Maybe hit them all at once. Because I never saw him make those weird faces.
So bizarre.
In Miami, I mean, he was always pretty downtrodden. I mean, he's just like, oh, this is what it is.
But who does that ever anywhere? Like, in what context is that a normal way to be in a room with anyone?
I mean, he's got to answer the question now, right? I mean,
what are we going to ask him? Why were you looking like an insane person?
I mean, it's everywhere. So somebody's going to, some media member, because nobody has any shame anymore, is just going to ask him, so what was up with that press conference? It'll be either week 1 or before his post preseason debut. They're going to ask him, so about that media press conference when you were in, and he'll have to answer it, and he'll probably dismiss it just based on his person.
Yeah. All right. So the one other thing I saw on Twitter yesterday, Andrew Perloff, he's producer of the Dan Patrick Show, tweeted out that, hey everybody. He didn't say, hey, everybody. And it was by the way, that 3 of the 4 teams left drafted running backs in the first round.
Ah, very good.
All right. So of those 3, Mark Ingram, is he the best running back on his team?
No.
Right. Sony Michel, is he the best running back on his team?
I'd say James White just because of his
ability. And Todd Gurley. Who other people said isn't the best running back on his team now either. Right. I know it's funny, but yeah, it was a little troll thing.
Yeah, just throwing it out there into the ether of
reel everybody in. Right.
That's pretty funny. So Saquon's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants went through Paul Perkins, Shane Vereen, who else? Brandon Jake. What was the Giants running back core?
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Oh my Lord.
Hey, it worked though. So I'm still team quarterback on that one, much as I love Saquon.
Sam Darnold, I know you miss him.
It's hard not to love Saquon.
Oh, I mean, Barry Sanders 2.0.
Right. I mean, it's hard not to love Le'Veon Bell, even if you acknowledge that James Conner, the Steelers' offense was better.
And Jalen Samuels had a pretty good stretch there, too, for a minute.
Totally replaceable.
Right.
I mean, C.J. Anderson looks like a superstar playing for the Rams right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this.
He's good.
Yeah. I will say this about C.J. Anderson. He's making cuts that the only other running back I've seen make those cuts is LaShawn McCoy in his prime, which is weird to say. I mean, some of those hips don't lie, as they used to say.
Thank you.
I date myself. But no, I would honestly say that C.J. Anderson, some of the cuts he's made, even though he's in the shape of Mike Tolbert now, he is making some pretty good moves.
I thought he was wearing a flak jacket.
Is he? Because he
I
might
don't know. No, I didn't think when I looked at him, I said he's wearing a flak jacket.
Two of them.
Right. It was weird.
He's layering for the cold weather ahead.
All right, let's before we move on to the two games for this Sunday, let's recap the divisional round games. So everybody on NFLPickwatch.com, it was a bloodbath because everybody picked the underdogs. On the expert side, the first three underdogs were more than 60% picked. The only favorite that the picks lean favorite was the Saints. On the fan side, underdogs across the board. And the only favorite that covered, sorry, not the only favorite. So the favorites covered everywhere except the last game, right? Because the Rams covered, the Chiefs covered, the Patriots certainly covered.
Will Lutz did not cover.
Will Lutz did not cover. I was so annoyed at that.
We didn't deserve it. The way that game started, we didn't.
No.
It'd be nice, though.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get, but you can't complain that that's a bad beat.
Right.
So, all right. So, I think when I was watching that Chiefs-Colts game, all I could think of is that was the prime example of recency bias getting all of us. That we were so impressed with how the Colts played, and boy, they're for real, and they just won at Houston. And, the Chiefs, they've been stumbling down the stretch, and maybe they aren't the same as they were early in the year, and we've seen this before. And I was watching the game going, that spread got down to 4.5.
Right.
And we were all eager to jump on this young road team in Arrowhead against, and we didn't take into account, as much as we all like to make fun of the Chiefs defense, we didn't take into account how they played at home all season, which is not bad, even though their home schedule was kind of weak.
It was crap. I went back through it. It's crap. You can't, that's why I hated when they said during the broadcast, oh, they're only allowing 18 points per game at home. Yeah, because you're not, see, and this is the problem when you're in a hurry on the broadcast side of things where you have to get to 1 point before the next play comes up. You can't peel the onion layers away, and you miss the point of, oh, they played dog crap teams. So take that with a grain of salt.
All right. So
are we allowed to elaborate on that game?
Sure.
No, it's just the recency bias, I think, is a little broad brush. I take your point on, oh, my God, we were like, everybody was really excited about what the Colts could be instead of what they were. But I will say this. The Chiefs' defensive line beating the Colts' offensive line, that was a big storyline in that game because I don't know what Andrew Luck saw, but it was like he was in Bird Box, John. He was like this. He didn't see what was going on because he kept throwing it into hands. Now, that's partly on the offensive line. It's partly on Luck. But that was a big part of the game where Luck just he never got into a rhythm.
Right.
Marlon Mack was completely neutralized, which was a big reason why they did so well against the Texans. So you talk about like the little things and the X factors, that offensive line, defensive line matchup was a big part of that game because I think had the Colts had what they had been accustomed to on the offensive line, that's a closer game. I know the final score isn't indicative of what that game was because the Chiefs did play pretty well. Yeah. I still think the Colts, had they done a little below average of what they had been at the peak, they compete and they hang within that 4 or 5 point threshold. They might not win because there would have been a lot of other things that would have needed to happen. There's just that offensive line, defensive line matchup where Luck kept throwing it into people's paws. That was the end all be all because Luck couldn't push the ball downfield, which was a problem weeks 1 through 3 and 4, if you remember the dink and dunk. But yeah, that's what I took away from it. The line, the Chiefs, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde line just came out and ate up the Colts.
Right. I mean, yeah, he was under pressure a lot, but he looked terrible. I mean, he didn't throw well at all.
Ebron had a few drops.
Yeah,
got to get in that rhythm.
They shot themselves in the foot quite a bit on the defensive line. Also, we had this.
Yeah, they went.
Was that good? Was that a good
appeal? Yeah, he did too many pumps.
Yeah, thanks. Pumps,
and right in front of the ref.
Almost at the ref, really.
Brilliant strategy.
Man, that was brutal. All right. I think the Colts are going to be a very trendy Super Bowl pick next year.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
But now, okay, so Ballard, their GM, comes out yesterday, and there's this huge discussion on Jacoby Brissett, which was a red flag to me, where he won't trade that guy for the second coming of the Messiah. And I'm like, does Ballard not trust that Luck is good to go? Because
if he's cheap enough, he's a good backup.
because he's got the experience and he's already been through it.
Because either you're going to bring a rookie in for cheap, or you're going to get another backup who costs you the same amount who's probably not as good.
But, I mean, is Ballard looking at Brissett as his Nick Foles?
Maybe. I mean, he wants basically the best security blanket he can get. Like, look, I mean, the guy's not untradeable. It just depends on what people offer him.
It was just a very stunning way of phrasing. We talk about phrasing.
All right, Cowboys-Rams. So I watched that game. That game went about like I thought it would. I said 30-17.
Except for
C.J.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that.
Right. Well, actually, and I didn't expect the Cowboys to get run all over.
Sure.
Generally. I mean, 275 yards rushing was ridiculous. I mean, the Cowboys have a good front, and the Rams ran on. I mean, just from a who was better and who won by how much kind of thing, it was about right.
Yes.
But I was watching that and watching the C.J. Anderson stuff.
Uh-huh.
And what kept going through my head was Gurley can't be healthy.
I'd concur with that.
And he ran well when he did. I mean, 16 for 115 he had, and he looked, spry on that touchdown he ran. And I just kept looking, going, if he was healthy, he'd be getting the ball all the time. And I would like the idea if I was him. If Gurley was 100% healthy, getting C.J. Anderson 8 to 10 carries would still be smart if you want to run a lot.
Right.
But yeah, that's what kept going through my head.
85% pregame needle. Where is Todd Gurley at in your mind?
Right. I don't know. He was limited early in the week. They said he practiced fully on Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday, I thought.
Maybe Wednesday and Thursday. You might be right. So I don't know. I'm skeptical on that one.
No, I think it's a fair point.
Otherwise, the Cowboys, do you think they can – I still think they can win with Dak. And when I say that, I don't mean it in the Trent Dilfer, you can win with anybody.
Right.
This is outstanding. I mean, I know Dak's flawed, but I still kind of like him.
I mean, I think it'll be very telling how the Cowboys play on the road their first 3-4 games next year. Because again, I hate to go back to the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but it's so true in so many parts of the NFL where you have these conflicting storylines and these conflicting trends and narratives, and the Cowboys held up their end of the bargain on the road where they just didn't play as well. I mean, Zeke Elliott being shut down that much, and we've talked about the Rams secondary just being horrible, and Gallup got off late, but before Gallup's catches late, there really wasn't much going on there. Beasley played hurt and didn't play much. A Cooper, a couple things here and there, but they need to have more balance if they're gonna. If your thought of Dak, they can win with Dak. And this is a big thing that you hear from Cowboys fans. They want Linehan, their OC, gone, and they want Dak to run more. Probably, if I had to guess, more like how Russell Wilson calls his own plays. Not crazy amounts, but just enough to keep a drive alive instead of having to force the pass.
Okay, a note of caution for Cowboys fans. Zeke's finishing year 4, about to get very expensive. Yeah. Amari Cooper is certainly going to get very expensive next year. Mm-hmm. And Dak gets very expensive year after next. So good luck.
Have fun with that pocketbook.
Yeah. It all seems great now. But when you got to pay those guys a whole boatload of money, geez, because you got to pay all 3 of them.
Right.
Right. Unless you want to let Dak walk and draft a rookie, which is fine if you want to do it. But if you want to keep him, it's coming.
So Zeke gets franchised.
Well, I'm looking at overthecap.com, and I see, all right, so Zeke either gets franchised or he gets long-term.
Yeah.
So
they franchise Dak and give Zeke the money.
Right. Let me see Cooper. Amari, there he is. Amari gets, wait, that's not right.
Cooper's going to have to. Cooper realizes his wealth based on how quick that team turned around once he arrived.
His cap number next year is going to be, if he's franchised, I think he's almost 14 million. So that's not good for them.
No.
Yeah, it's about to get ugly for the Cowboys. I mean, they have some young talent on defense, which is good.
Right.
So they're cheap, but you're going to have to start paying people, and I think that's going to come at the expense of the offensive line.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then you're paying Zeke to run behind a weaker offensive line. It's got to be how that works out.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chargers Pats. So Brady after the game.
Yeah.
First of all, this is a demolition.
Yes.
I mean, the Pats,
six catches in 2 minutes.
And the numbers suggested that the Chargers gave up a lot to opposing receivers. Like that was by design for sure. The Chargers couldn't really do much of anything. Rivers looked uncomfortable. The Pats defense played well. The Pats just they look better than they have all year. And after the game, Tom Brady does I know everyone thinks we suck and can't win any games, so we'll see what happens next week. They've won 5 championships. They're in their 8th straight AFC title game, and they are playing the nobody respects us card. I love it.
But the point spread's the favor of the Chiefs.
The way that professional athletes can manufacture, chips on their shoulder, it always amazes me how you can just make your head do things like that.
Yep. And it's funny, too, because they're like, oh, we don't pay attention to the media. You don't come up with that quote unless you pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
There's no way. So
there's no way at all. So, yeah, that was pretty funny. Do you think the 2 long trips affected the Chargers?
I do. I mean, we're all human. I don't care how great of an athlete you are. Nobody wants to be crammed, even if it's your own team playing. Nobody wants to be crammed in a plane.
Yeah.
There has been jokes about how it's a flying couch for 5 hours and going across. I just don't think it was a tough break for them because I was talking to somebody. I was like, you have one of the best records in the AFC, and just because you played in the same division as the Chiefs, you kind of get hosed in the worst possible way with those 2 cross-country trips. Because as we texted last week, I mean, the Chargers were a better team this year.
I thought so.
Different levels. And Keenan Allen had the game I thought Keenan Allen would have, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I think that travel hurt. Everybody's human at the end of the day. And I think being crammed in an airplane is not the most enjoyable process.
Well, did you hear Anthony Lynn talked about the travel last week? It was kind of weird. I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. It
was something to the effect of someone asked him about staying on the East Coast after they beat the Ravens. And he said something like, it just struck me as weird. He basically said, well, there are some details, there's some things we had to work out to make that happen and we didn't, so we're going back home and we're coming back here. It was kind of like, wait, what? It almost sounded to me, and I know this didn't happen, it almost sounded like after the Ravens game, they went, oh my God, should we stay here or not?
Right, no. And that's a traveling secretary's job.
Yeah, and I'm sure that wasn't, it couldn't have been that, but it sounded like it the way he said it, and it just struck me as really odd.
Yeah, so. I guess there's one thing to his point. It was right after the holidays. People are still traveling, maybe taking extended vacation. And to get that many people hotel housing and all that type of logistics, that might be the details he's talking about, where it's like, that's a lot of people traveling with the team. I don't know.
I guess it just seemed weird. I mean, go up to Albany, New York, and stay in I don't know. You can figure it out.
Harbaugh was a big fan of staying east when their teams were east.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be a smart move. I don't know. I wish I knew the details behind that. All right. So, I mean, the Pats looked awesome. Yeah. They looked awesome. All right.
Julian Edelman is still a very, very good asset to have.
Yeah, he really is. So, Eagles-Saints next. That was the game. Will Lutz, we're not happy with you, Will Lutz.
We'll just take the half win there. Because, again, you have to remember the play before he had to kick, Ingram got blown up for like a 4-yard loss, 5-yard.
Right, he did. I feel terrible for Alshon Jeffrey.
I do too, and if he was playing with broken ribs, I mean, this goes back to the plane thing I was just talking about. Everybody's human at the end of the day. You don't want to go to work at your office job with broken ribs. He's trying to go out there and win a game with broken ribs. It's hard to breathe. And he did look, I know he looked sad after he dropped the pass, but he just looked uncomfortable. And I'm like, that doesn't look right. He just didn't look right. But again, there's a million different things that could have went better for them. Nick Foles isn't perfect. And the way that started, it wasn't Alshon Jeffrey's fault that they chose that way.
Yeah. So Nick Foles, postseason results, 2 games, led his offense to 30 points. And in the first touchdown on Sunday was defensive created, basically.
Right.
43 out of 71, which is 60.6%. 467 yards in those 2 games. 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 6.6 yards per attempt. Now, I know one of the interceptions was that one that we just talked about that wasn't his fault. The Nick Foles narrative, it annoys me.
Oh, it annoys me too.
I like him. I mean, the guy's done really good stuff for them. But this all, like, Nick Foles or Carson Wentz, come on.
No, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. I mean, Nick Foles can be Jacoby Brissett. And they can't because it's going to cost you. But
he could start for someone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you have designs on a high-powered offense if he starts for you.
Ooh, that sounds like he's going to Jacksonville.
Yeah. Who said the other day, when is he on the plane to Jacksonville? Monday morning, Monday afternoon?
Yeah. But no, I'm with you there. I think game managing hasn't been used a lot since Alex Smith left Kansas City. But there's some game managing going on there. And the one thing about the Eagles in that matchup, they lost the defensive lineman to the Achilles. Jason Peters was hurt most of the game, even though he toughed it out. Lord knows what he was playing through. Those were 2 big injuries because all the momentum was on Philadelphia's side. Then I think his last name is Brooks, topped that Achilles, got carted off. And then when Peters went down, things really opened up because Peters is a nasty guy, even at 90% on the defensive side of the ball. So they had a lot of trickle-down effect of things just falling apart for them at the wrong time.
Yeah. And Michael Thomas, awesome.
He catches everything.
Second game, what did he get? I think he got almost 400 yards receiving against no, that was the Rams. That's coming up. He had the big game against the Rams. He had 170, 12 for 170. It was a ton. All right, let's review the week. So you, Josh, and I all went 3-1 straight up. Josh and I went 1-3 against the spread. You went 2-2. Who were your 2 wins?
Patriots and Rams.
Yeah, my win was the Rams, and that's it. So you are 9th against spread standings. Josh is 23rd. I am 30th. So I really thought I was going to look good. I basically figured that if the Saints covered, I was going to be 2-2, and based on the picks, that was going to be an above-average week.
Yeah.
So
I mean, 2-2 just seems to be par for the course now. It's just water reaching its level, John. Every time people go 2-2 in these playoffs, or 500, water reaching its level, and that's what happened to the Colts, Big Ben.
So right now, among the experts, there is a dogfight on NFLPickwatch.com. Jamie Eisenberg from CBS, Mike Clay from ESPN, and Ben Volen from the Boston Globe. All basically, it's like it's not a virtual tie. Volen is a half game ahead of Clay, as is Eisenberg. So Volen and Eisenberg are tied. Eisenberg's 142, 115, Volen's 141 and 114, and then Clay's a half game back. So this could go any possible way this week. Really, really interesting stuff. On the straight up side of things, Elliot Harrison from NFL Network still leading. Did he go 3-1 or 4 now? He went 3-1, which is solid. It's fine. 180 and 82. Eisenberg again, 2 games back with 3 to play. He's not going to get there. It's when you say 2 games back, you go, oh, that's close. But there's nothing left. There's no ground to make up.
Right.
So we're not a lot.
Pro Bowl game.
Exactly. All right. On the other side, fan-wise, a guy named Speakeasy Sports and Imagery are on top of the against the spread league. Drew Purdue and Tao Dang lead in straight up. So congratulations to you folks for having a good year. All right, we're going to look at the 2 games for this. We're not going to get way in depth on the Sunday games, but we're going to start looking at them, talk about the early lines. Until then, Ryan's at Freelance Fowler on Twitter. I'm at jhalpin37. Josh is at Josh Katzowitz, and our main account is at Pickwatch. Make your picks now, NFLPickwatch.com, and look for Josh's column later in the week on. Normally he does 3 games. I'm not sure he's going to structure it this week on the game to bet your life savings on, and the game to be scared of, and the fun game of the week. I think they're all fun games.
They are.
Josh and I will be here on Friday morning, by the way, to look in depth at the 2 Sunday games. All right, let's go. So 3 o'clock Eastern, Rams Saints. Saints favored by 3.5 currently. Over under is 57. These teams played in week 9. Saints won 45-35. They were up 35-17 at halftime. They controlled the ball, the time of possession, 33 minutes, 41 seconds for the Saints. Gurley didn't have a huge day, 68 yards rushing. Michael Thomas did, as I mentioned earlier, referenced earlier, 12 for 211 and the touchdown. Rams 6-2 on the road, but 4-4 against the spread. Saints 7-2 straight up at home, but 4-5 against the spread. But one of those, they lost the Week 17 game, which we're going to throw out because they were resting everybody. So the big injury here, we talked about Gurley. Sheldon Rankins being out for the Saints is a massive issue. Like, I'm not saying, oh no, they're dead. Not like that.
Right.
He's a really good player.
Every piece matters this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the oxygen was sucked out of their dome when he went down. I mean, you could sense it even at home, where people know these role players and every bit matters, and that's going to play a factor in this matchup. Yeah.
So I mean, if the Rams, I mean, the way the Rams are so interesting because they run so unconventionally. You know, it's always been, well, you're gonna add a tight end and you're gonna add a fullback and you're gonna just blow people up at the line. Well, the Rams are kind of like, oh, we're just gonna spread the field and create lanes, which is what's helping C.J. Anderson to look like Jim Brown right now.
And to that point, if that offensive line does what they did against the Cowboys, look out. I mean, right. That's a game changer. It's funny, like going back to what I was talking about with the Colts and the Chiefs. And then you look at what happened with the Patriots and Chargers as far as protection goes, people being comfortable. The offensive-defensive line matchups have been fascinating last week, and that's going to carry over into this week. We talk about all these skill position players, but those trenches are mattering more than I think people are leading on because it's not sexy to talk about, and I get that. But, man, those battles at the offensive and defensive line are going to matter, especially in this matchup.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so by the way, Saints are, again, in fact, the Carolina game's part of this, 1-5 against the spread in their last 6.
Yee!
Yeah.
However, and the Rams are getting the hook? Yee!
They are 5-0 in the playoffs under Peyton. They haven't lost at home with him. We know that their pass defense has struggled a lot this year. It's gotten better.
Yeah, it's like this, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I wish I had the game by game in front of me that way to dig into.
No, it is.
That would be boring TV talk to go game by game. But whatever. Yeah, it has
We've been
different.
told we're so exciting to listen.
Apple seems to have stabilized a little bit. He seems to have improved along the way since he's gotten there. So the interesting thing in this game, I was looking at the numbers. I was looking at the numbers yesterday Goff. The Saints sacked quarterback a lot. They're tied for 5th in the league. Goff under pressure. I mean, he had a good yardage game last time. I mean, they lost, and it was a lot of, wasn't catch up late. But I don't know. He struggles a bit under pressure. And some people are like, he's that's funny. I was reading people on Twitter yesterday saying he's bad under pressure, like bad. Because he doesn't move very well.
Right.
And I wonder if the Saints, like, I wonder if you kind of just send the kitchen sink after him. I mean, the Saints aren't a huge blitzing team, but I don't know. I wonder. Because last time, if you're the Saints, do you do what you did last time when the Rams scored 35 points?
Right. Yeah, I think you obviously have to mix it up. But I think that also, if they do bring the kitchen sink and you have Todd Gurley not playing at optimal level, that falls into, oh my gosh, I don't have somebody to dump it off to on a screen pass in the flat and let him run. Do you bring Cooks back? And that's your quick out and go. I'm just trying to play it out in my mind of if they do bring heat, who's going to be the safety valve? Is it going to be Higbee? Because they got, like you said, Goff has not looked good under pressure. I would agree with that. I think there is some truth to that. And if anybody who's watched any of their road games when he was facing pressure would obviously notice that. But I think Todd Gurley plays a huge role in how they attack any type of blitz that would come from the Saints, because he was so good in the passing game in that first half of the season. Obviously, time waned on, and he was injured during that time too, according to him.
Right.
But yeah, because C.J. Anderson's not going to be that safety valve, so maybe it's Cooks, maybe it's Higbee.
Well, C.J. Anderson's a good blocker too, actually.
Yeah, he does pick up the blitz quite well because, again, he's wearing 2 flak jackets.
Right.
He takes up space like this.
He's like one of those hockey goalies who takes up the whole.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think the Saints will mix it up a little bit. Just again, they have to change the timing. Looking at how comfortable they were last week against the Cowboys, a defense better than theirs, as evident based on when the Saints played them. That'll be an interesting adjustment. That Peyton, body language and everything. Peyton at the end of that game, it's cliche, but it's almost like he wants it more than I think his players do. Like, you looked at the intensity on his face.
I agree.
Yeah, he took the Lombardi Trophy and the 225,000 player gift that you get if you win the Super Bowl into the locker room last week as motivation. I mean, what does he do for an encore? Because he put so much into that game, and they're still trying to get the taste out of the Vikings postseason loss last year. It just seems like he's wound so tight on this. Maybe there could be a room for error there. For McVay, he talks to somebody and that guy gets a job, which is the big joke now, where anybody that has been within 3 feet of Sean McVay gets a job in the NFL. He might be playing with house money this week.
He might. I really like him. I know that, the love for him can get a little irrational, and the way GMs have hired even proves that it's not just, a figment of people's imagination here. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I really like him. One thing about him and Goff, and you noticed it. I mean, you notice it a lot, and I happen to be paying more attention to it on Saturday night, about how long they wait to call the play, and how they change it. I mean, Goff and McVay are communicating until the mic shuts off. Was it 15 seconds that it shuts off? And the Superdome is not conducive to that stuff.
That's a really good point.
I mean,
not at all.
I don't know. I mean, but again, they did it last. I mean, they were down 35-17 at halftime, and they made a go of it. Mm-hmm. But it was, I don't know. I wonder if it's up. With that said, over under 57.
Uh-huh.
How do you bet under in this game?
You don't.
There's no way.
No, not with the way Marcus Peters and that Rams secondary has been playing. And again, you can find gaps in the space. Yes, the Saints shut down the Eagles after that 14-0 blitzkrieg early, but they're not good. I mean, they're like, I always look at it, 32 teams. Where are the Saints? In my mind, not statistically, just like where do they fall in that? Are they 15?
Middle.
They're hovering around 15, right? They're not the Cowboys and everything like that. So I look at it as you're going to hammer that over. And
without Rankins, I mean, that's a big deal.
Right.
He's one of their best defensive players.
Yeah. And you have no weather conditions to factor in, which we didn't have to earlier either. And it hammered the over in that game. So we have to also use the track record of that.
What's your gut? Tuesday morning, what's your gut?
That hook scares the living hell out of me because it's just, these teams are barely like looking. This is what, okay. So the Saints 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games, right? That is what they are. I think they are good enough to win any game, but even a 3.5, if it was 3, that would make more sense. And I'd probably lean Saints, but that hook, the Rams are going to hang. They're not going to go anywhere, especially with the way C.J. Anderson's playing right now. C.J. Anderson isn't showing any signs of slowing down. He did it the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Then he comes up against, and again, this is the Rams offensive line. Is this, again, going back to our Colts analysis, is this recency bias? Am I getting into my head that the Rams offensive line is going to perform just as well as they did last week, 7 days later against the Saints defensive front seven? Maybe, because it's a really good offensive line. And then on the flip side, you have Aaron Donald, and you have Ndamukong Suh, and you have Dante Fowler, no relation. And they can bottle up Alvin Kamara and Ingram, because Ingram, he needs a little bit of a push for him to get to that second level. Kamara can make plays. And I think Kamara actually just is coming off one of his best games in 2 or 3 months, if you want to be honest about it.
Yep.
So with all that said, I like the Rams with the hook. I know it's cliche and Fowler's being cute. No, I really like I like the Rams getting that half point to kind of give me a little bit of buffer where they hang within that field goal, because both of those kickers are good. I know Lutz missed the 52-yarder, but you got Greg the leg. There's really, and you have the inside conditions. You don't have weather elements. Give me the Rams in the hook, and I think 43-40, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
35. Like I'm in it. Like I really believe. And again, I just don't want my recency bias on C.J. Anderson to cloud my judgment. But just watching the Saints down the stretch, they had a week to let me put it this way: they had a week to prepare for Nick Foles and the horrible Eagles secondary, which has gotten better as of late. And Brees throws a pick to start the game, throws the momentum and flow of that game. That's what they kind of were down the stretch, and that's what concerns me.
Yeah, one of the things that concerns me with them is that their receiving game, after Michael Thomas and Kamara, the receiving game is not really good. Nope. I mean, nothing to speak of.
Nope. So. Like Kirkwood shows up once every 5 games.
Yeah.
Raekwon once every 5 games. Dan, like, again, and then you're like, oh, what was his name? Dan Arnold. Like, anybody who's just kind of looking to wager on this game, you should play quiz game or quiz bowl with your buddies. Name the receivers after Michael
Ted
Thomas. Well, yeah, but Ted Ginn just came back on board, and he's a half step.
Right. Now. Otherwise, 2 things in this game. If you're prop betting, I don't have the yardage in front of me, but the Saints, their pass defense has struggled. Like you said, it's been up and down a little bit. They've given up most of their stuff on the outside. Cooks was 6 for 114 and 1 last time they played. On the other side of this, the Rams have been very good about shutting down receiving backs. They've given up 477 receiving yards all year to receiving backs, which is pretty darn good. Kamara, 4 for 34 and 1. I know he got the touchdown. I know I'm not playing fantasy here, but if you're prop betting, Kamara's probably not in line for a big receiving game based on how the Rams have played this year.
So Kamara down the stretch, receiving yards. 40. This is regular season. This is like second half of the season. 46 receiving yards, 37, 9, 36, 36, 36. 3 straight weeks with 36 receiving yards, trifecta, and then 82 against Pitt in that comeback win. But you look at the beginning of the season for Kamara, and Ingram was suspended. 112, 53, 124 to start the season. It's almost like they're saving Kamara and trying to extend his career workload, because it just seems like it's steady, the amount of touches he's getting per game, but that explosiveness that we saw all through last year hasn't been able to mimic itself in his sophomore season. And but you go out last week and you have the big game against Philadelphia, making some big plays. That is interesting that the Rams can slow that down, because that's needed with only Thomas as the other option.
All right. Let's go to Pat's Chiefs. So my gut, I'm trying to talk myself into the Rams, by the way.
You are going to talk yourself?
I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to see a Rams-Chiefs rematch. I don't know. I mean, any of these matchups would be fun.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how the Rams could come back and win at New Orleans after losing last time. I mean, they're good. I think they can. I don't think anyone in this round is unbeatable or anything like that. I'm trying to figure it out. And that rankings thing is really sticking in my head.
Yeah, and that's what gets us in trouble, though. I think you and I are very similar, where we hone in on certain things, like me, probably C.J. Anderson this week, the rankings thing with you, where don't forget, bring everything into the fold, because you might miss something when you're trying to drop some digits on it. But again, the way I look, again, we talk about it every week, playing a game out in your mind. What is more likely, the Rams to jump out against the Saints team, or the Saints, keeping in mind, and I'm leading the witness, how they've played down the stretch, jumping out against the Rams? I think it's more the Rams are going to be able to jump out.
I think you might be right.
If the Eagles could jump out, and I know the interception on Brees kind of changed its own early, and then the injuries kind of reversed it back. God, that game had so many weird flow changes, the Eagles and Saints. But, yeah, I'm really big on the Rams Tuesday morning. Let's see if anything changes.
Right.
I don't think I'll change my mind unless the half moves away.
All right, let's get to the other game. Chiefs-Pats. Chiefs favored by 3. Now –
Of course they are.
Over under opened at 58. As we speak, Tuesday, 9:45 a.m. Eastern, 55.5. Very cold forecast in Kansas City.
A little nippy.
Clear, because this game starts 5:40 p.m. in Kansas City, right? As of right now, no precipitation. They might get some on Saturday. ice, sleet, rain, whole bunch of stuff. Hot. Right now, the forecast, according to weather.com, the high forecast in Kansas City for Sunday is 11 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's during the day. That's probably, 3 o'clock. 5:40, we're talking about a different thing. It's going to get colder during the game. We could get a high of somewhere. I mean, it could get down to 0. They're not sure yet. I mean, the phrase Arctic blast is being thrown around, Ryan.
Oh, the vortex is coming down?
No vortex. Arctic blast, no vortex.
All right.
So, I mean, it's going to be cold. Like really, really super duper, one of those, hey, I remember watching that really cool playoff game cold.
Yep.
So that's what's driving down the overrun. These are both cold weather teams. So this is not like, all right, I'm going to date myself. Do you remember the Chargers-Bengals playoff game?
I've watched highlights, John.
Yeah, I watched it live.
I know.
But
Freezer Bowl.
That was the week after, in 1982. Chargers.
I was 1 year old.
And that is the coldest playoff game on record, I believe. No, the Ice Bowl was colder. This was the second coldest. But the Chargers were helped. But the Chargers had won that game at Miami the week before in double overtime. And then they went to Cincinnati, and it was like the wind chill was minus 50 or something. And it was just, they were helpless. They couldn't do anything. It just looked like the most miserable day anyone could ever endure out on the field. And it's just, but we don't have a warm weather team coming here. I mean, the Pats are used to this stuff. So that, I don't think that favors one team over the other.
Sure.
Week 6, let's just go back. Pats beat the Chiefs 43-40 at home. Great Sunday night game.
Yeah.
946 combined total yards. The Pats had the ball for 36 minutes. They controlled, and Patty Mahomes kind of hung around and then kept the Chiefs in it, and it was basically whoever had the ball last. So it was a fun game to watch. I hope this is – Mahomes and Brady were probably equal that night. I think Mahomes threw 2 picks, but it was sort of a standoff. The only guy who didn't jump out off the stat sheet that you would expect was Kelsey. He had an okay game, 5 catches, 61 yards. Anyway, so that was the history of that, their matchup earlier in the season. The Pats, we've talked about this, such a different team on the road.
Yes.
Sunday, we picked the Chargers. I picked the Chargers anyway. A bunch of people did. They were the popular choice. And the Pats basically, did what they do at home. Fine. The Pats are good. Tom Brady wants a chip on his shoulder. That's fine. All well and good. The Pats are 3-5 on the road. They've averaged 19 points a game. It's different. It's this, like, Sunday I was watching this and I'm going, I'm all in on the Chiefs. I'm in.
Sold.
I mean, their home field it's really an advantage for them.
How many games has Pat Mahomes played in 10-degree weather?
I don't know. Where is he from? Texas?
Well, I know he went to Tech.
I know he's born in Texas. Well, I don't know where he spent. How much time he spent.
It's my argument.
I mean, he was in New York and then Minnesota. Was his dad on the Twins while he was alive? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
I always joke around that his dad used to ruin my fantasy teams because I would draft him all the time.
You would draft his dad?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Him. Well, he was a very highly regarded prospect.
Okay. And
it just kind of didn't pan out.
Was this after the Freezer Bowl?
He became a decent reliever. I think it was, yes. It's in the 90s, actually.
Okay.
So the Pats, they're in their 8th straight AFC title game. Yay, Pats. They're 8-4 in conference title games with Brady and Belichick, which is incredible. It's just I know most people who are not Patriots fans or Patriots haters. Please appreciate what you're watching here, because these guys they're amazing.
But the AFC East, John.
I know.
The AFC East.
But they win it every single year. Mm-hmm. Every year.
Yep.
They're such a, you're not going to see this again.
No.
I really don't think. Most of us are not going to see this again.
I would agree.
They're too good. They're too consistent. They just never let up. With that said, I'm on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are okay. So the Chiefs are 8-1 at home. I know only 5-4 against the spread. That's fine. Their defense has been better at home. We talked about this. Oh, the Pats. I think I said already. 19 points per game on the road. The Pats have scored. Chiefs have allowed 17.2. I know that the schedule was easy. Fine. We'll allow for that. And Chiefs also 2-5-1 against the spread in their last 8. I just think that the Pats they're a little older. I think they're walking into just a bad spot. going to I mean, the Chiefs hung with them, and it was a nail biter. Even though the Pats controlled the ball, it was a nail biter. It was a last play field goal at Foxborough.
Right.
Now we're going to Arrowhead. Different story, man.
So this was something that I noticed a lot of people chatting about during the wild card round. When you have these spreads that are so small, I mean, are you more interested in a money line bet on the Chiefs at -152, or the spread? Because
the spread,
you would take
at 3. I'm more likely to push than lose.
Right.
If the Chiefs win.
Right. So you go spread. All right.
Yeah.
That just seemed to be something that popped up a lot during the wild card with those 2.5s all over the place.
I'm actually saying all this stuff to hope to get on the Patriots bulletin board. Locker room bulletin.
You have exactly. Well, the one thing I just looked up while you were going through the intro, when they played before, Kareem Hunt, 5 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Williams isn't doing that. Damian Williams has been a nice option for them,
mm-hmm.
and he has not lost them many games. He has not completely brought down the running threat that they had with Kareem, because, again, Le'Veon Bell, James Conner, Jalen Samuels, that type of conversation.
Right.
But 10 for 80, 5 for 105 and a touch, had played well against the Patriots last 2 years. That does matter at the end of the day when you have to look, if you are using the previous game to analyze where this could shake out this time around, because they are a little different. And I just don't think we can poo-poo those weather conditions enough, because nobody wants to be hit on a football field when it's 60 degrees out, let alone the bumps and bruises that are going to come around.
Yeah.
Again, this goes back to the Chargers being on a plane cross country twice in 2 weeks, and those type of things, where these all are elite athletes and they've been through a lot. But the Chiefs are a younger team when you look around compared to the grizzled men of the Patriots, who have been maybe around too long, right? These conditions shake out pretty well for the Patriots. And we talk about their struggles on the road. It's a regular season. And here's where there's a crossover in my fanhood and analyst hat. Watching the Cavs and LeBron over the last 3 years before he went to the Lakers, they got really, really bored with the regular season. They really did. And you don't want to get too bored, because there's only 16 games in an NFL regular season compared to 82 with the NBA. But part of me always wondered with the Patriots, it's like they know they have the AFC East on lock because nobody can compete with them. So they're going to probably get the division crown year in and year out. They have games where they can reel it back. And then when you got to think about this, because that's an older team, and the Cavs were an older team. They could hold some stuff back on the defensive side of things and on the road, because as soon as you blink with them, they go out there and they destroy a really good Chargers team. Yes, at home, but still a very good Chargers team who had shown us a lot throughout the season. So I'm not saying they laid down on the road, but I'm just saying maybe they saved some stuff, because Belichick is smart. He's somebody who's playing chess, not checkers, and he was preparing for this moment more than he was for the Jaguars or the Titans. He was preparing for these moments, not a regular season game in his 15,000th season as head coach of the Patriots. He was preparing for, if we get to the divisional, if we get to the conference championship. And Julian Edelman, I don't remember the last game Julian Edelman had that was that much of an impact. Were they saving Julian Edelman after being suspended all of September? I don't know. And then they're using Gronk in different ways. Gronk isn't a receiver. He's blocking for tight.
Yeah.
The roles are changing. James White, 6 receptions within like the first drive. Like, they are adapting to what they are. And I think that will allow them to hang with the Chiefs in this game. I think, and if I have to pick somebody where it's so evenly matched, Andy Reid didn't have the extra week this time around. I'll take Belichick and the Patriots.
All right. So question I have for you.
Yeah.
Last week and many weeks, I think we agreed. I've been saying all year, like, I am not forecasting the end of the Patriots.
Right.
Obviously. Now. But I thought all year that they were just a step below what they usually are. Like they weren't that team that going into the playoffs, I said, oh, they're going to the Super Bowl. Well, most years I go, yeah, who's going to the Super Bowl? I don't know, probably the Pats. This year I didn't feel that way.
Right.
I think we were on the same wavelength there.
Yeah.
Is that gone after that Chargers game?
No, this really comes down to adjusting on the fly. And I don't care how good Patrick Mahomes has been. He's still always going through his first moment in this pressure-packed league that we have to go through. And he could prove me wrong. I have no doubt in my mind that he's done it before. But there are moments where you've looked at the Chiefs and you're like, man, you look at that Seattle game. You look at them laying down to San Diego, or I did it again, Los Angeles Chargers on their home field a few weeks ago, where they had these chances. And there are these moments where that's where the Patriots chew up. Now, how could the Chiefs win in my mind? They do exactly to Tom Brady what they did to Andrew Luck. They rush. They get that pass rush, and they win that line of scrimmage battle. If they don't, they're hosed because the Chargers did it, and all Brady did was hit James White for 4 yards, 5 yards. Quick outs to James White, and he picked them up, so they were working with second and short, third and short to get that rhythm going on early on. If that happens again, it's going to be a long day for the Chiefs because all Tom Brady needs right now is rhythm, and I don't think the Chiefs have the secondary to slow down some of those vertical options that they have because watch Gronk have a pretty good game this week. He's not going to have a classic Gronk 150 and 2 touchdowns, but they're going to throw him out there into the post route. And I can see the same with Edelman again, where he has another big game because show me what the Chiefs secondary has that's going to be able to slow that down if Brady has just enough time to throw. I really believe it.
By the way, Gronk 3 for 97 in round 1 of this series this year in week 6. The Chiefs have allowed 87 receptions and 10 touchdowns to opposing tight ends.
Yeah, and if Eric Ebron would have come down with the touchdown, I would have had my prop bet right. Because they did go to Ebron twice in the end zone.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like the Chiefs.
It's going to be a great game. I'm just going. I don't want to feel like I'm just falling into the lure and the love of the Patriots and what they've done because I'm trying to find the spot where I believe Andy Reid can out-coach Bill Belichick and out-prepare and out-scheme without that extra week because Andy Reid does take full advantage of that, as we know.
Yep.
And the weather kind of neutralizes everything, right? I mean, there's not that many games that are played between 0 and 10 degrees. I mean, the track record of that is very limited. And that's where I'm like, man, these Patriots have been through everything. They've been through everything. Has Travis Kelce grew up in Cleveland. But how many of these games in these really uber cold temperatures had these guys been through? The noise factor is also going to be on the Chiefs side. But, man, I look at all these adjustments that you're going to have to make in brutal temperatures. I will take the under in this because I do think points are going to be
I'm leaning that way, too. 27-24 maybe.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yep.
But let's keep an eye out on how the weather forecast changes because I'd love it to be, 43-40 again.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Muscles are going to stiffen up. I don't care how many of those blast furnaces they have on the sideline and those poofy coats. You're going to be cold. And I'm always curious what the coaches decide to wear on those games. I mean, I'm like, Anthony Lynn was like in a sweatshirt last week in a ball cap. And I'm like, that's cold, man.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully he had some thin layers underneath. But
yeah.
All right. That's it. Like I said, Josh and I'll be back Friday morning to talk in depth about the 2 Sunday games. So please check back with us then. We usually record at 7 a.m. Eastern. We'll probably do the same thing this week. And I'll be here most likely 2 o'clock Eastern on Sunday with my quick Facebook Live check-in on the inactives for the early game for Saints and Rams, and to talk about how the lines have moved and who the final consensus picks are and all that. So check that out. Ryan, we got anything else for today?
Is Kyler Murray going to play in the NFL?
So I've heard.
I've heard that too. Just curious. That's all I had.
Yeah. All right. He's at Freelance Fowler on Twitter. I'm at jhalpin37. Our main account is at Pickwatch. If you get to tweet us, you want to ask any questions about the games this weekend, please tweet us anytime. That's it for today's edition of Pickwatch Live. Also, like I said, this will be on, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like us on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. The individual game discussions from Friday are going to be on YouTube later in the week, so please check those out. That's it for this edition of Pickwatch Live. We'll be back on Friday with Josh, like I said, to take a deeper look at the games and to help you make some successful picks to try to overcome any pools you're in where you need to make a jump, or you just want to win some bets this weekend, we'll try to help you out. For Ryan Fowler, I'm John Halpin. Thanks for watching Pickwatch Live.